It was supposed to be just another oversight hearing, one of those long, careful meetings where leaders talk numbers and policies. But within minutes, it became something else entirely. Over 30 million people tuned in as the tension inside. That packed congressional room could almost be felt through the screen. Every seat was filled, cameras zoomed in, microphones ready to catch every word. Jasmine Crockett sat still, focused, her hands resting on a folder thicker than most, cross. From her, Trump sat with quiet confidence, steady and sure, not knowing what was about to unfold. What began as a debate over policy would soon pull back the curtain on truths no one expected, truths that would leave a mark on more than one family and more than one office. Watch closely. What happened next changed everything about how power and privacy meet in front of the nation. Jasmine Crockett leaned forward, voice steady, eyes locked on the papers in front of her. She started with facts, clear, sharp questions about a policy Trump had proudly backed. It was the kind of policy that promised support for working families, for people trying to get by. But as she spoke, the tone in the room shifted. Trump, calm at first, answered with ease. He pointed to his record, his achievements. He reminded everyone of the promises made and the victories claimed. But Crockett didn't stop. She began to lay out papers, one by one, reports, letters, data that didn't match the promises. The room grew quieter. Her questions dug deeper. She showed where the policy's public message didn't match what was happening behind closed doors, especially for families who needed help most. Then, with a pause that made every camera in the room lean in, she asked, "When leaders make promises at the podium but live differently in private, who pays the price?" It wasn't loud, but it hit hard. Trump's body shifted. The easy smile faded. The confident posture tightened. The cameras caught at that moment when control slipped just a little. News anchors interrupted regular coverage. Social media feeds exploded with clips of that single question, and Crockett kept going. She brought out a timeline, dates, messages, notes, each piece fitting together. No direct accusation, but the picture was becoming clear. Choices made at home, choices made in private, somehow tied to choices made in office. Trump tried to push back, tried to steer it back to policy, to facts and figures. But the chair gave Crockett the floor. The room itself seemed to lean in. Reporters filled their notepads as fast as they could. Staffers shifted in their seats, whispering to each other. Phones lit up as people everywhere tried to catch what was unfolding. And still, Crockett's voice stayed level, her focus steady. This wasn't about scoring points. It was about laying out truth, one piece at a time, and letting the weight of it speak for itself. The room felt tight, like the air itself was waiting. Then, without raising her voice, Jasmine Crockett reached into her folder and pulled out a sealed affidavit. The paper looked simple, but the weight it carried was anything but. It came from someone who had once been close to Trump's inner circle, a former advisor who knew both the public speeches and the private choices behind them. Crockett opened it, her hands steady. She read parts of it aloud. The words weren't meant to attack, but they made people shift in their seats. The affidavit spoke of charity funds that were promised for one cause, but used for something else. It spoke of statements made to the public that didn't match the quiet talks behind closed doors. The hearing room went completely still. No shuffling. Papers. No whispered side comments. Just stillness. Trump leaned forward. His voice came low and measured. "This is not the place for personal attacks disguised as policy debate," he said. Eyes steady, tone meant to calm the storm. But Crockett didn't raise her voice. She didn't need to. She lifted another paper, this one a printed chain of emails, real, checked, and confirmed. The emails showed senior advisors talking about both public plans and private concerns. Lines between the two blurred in ways that mattered. Her words cut through the room like a slow blade. "We're not here to discuss a family," she said softly, but with force. "We're here because leadership starts at home, and America deserves clarity." Trump answered, his voice controlled, reminding the room of his dedication to family, to his work, to the country. He spoke as a man trying to steady a moment that was slipping away. The people in that room seemed to split down the middle. Some nodded, seeing in Crockett's calm, questioning the duty of someone who wanted truth. Others shifted uncomfortably, feeling that the line between personal life and public duty was being stretched thinner than ever before. On screens across the country, media voices began calling it what it was: the most personal moment in congressional history. The emotion in the room grew heavy, but Crockett stayed still. Her tone never changed. She didn't speak of marriage. She didn't speak of family matters for drama. She spoke about choices, the kind that start in private but reach into public trust. And when she said her last line, the room didn't even seem to breathe. When trust at home falters, trust in office follows close behind. The words didn't need to be loud. They carried their own weight. The hearing came to a close without another word from Trump. He stood, straightened his jacket, and walked out of the room, his team close behind. The cameras followed him, but he gave them nothing. No glance, no comment, no reaction. His face was calm, his steps steady. Crockett didn't look at him as he left. She quietly gathered her papers, nodded once to the chair in thanks, and stepped away from the table. Reporters called her name, held out microphones, but she kept walking. There was no victory speech, no sign of pride or anger, just focus. Outside, the world reacted like lightning striking dry ground. Every news channel had the hearing on repeat, breaking down Crockett's every word and the moments Trump had fallen silent. Commentators spoke of how she had handled the questioning, steady, respectful, but firm, and how she had kept the focus on leadership, not gossip. On social media, the country divided. Some defended Trump, saying he had kept his dignity under fire, refusing to let things get personal. Others praised Crockett, calling her brave for asking hard questions that tied private choices to public promises. By the next morning, Trump released a formal statement. His words were measured. He thanked the committee for their time and spoke of his respect for the process. He promised transparency moving forward and reminded the nation of his dedication to service. Crockett stayed silent. No posts, no interviews. She let the facts stand on their own. The people could decide what came next. In the days that followed, the hearing became more than a news story. It turned into a lesson. In schools, in law classes, in political science rooms across the country, students studied it. They talked about what it means when personal choices and public duty collide. They debated how leaders should answer hard questions without turning on each other. No one called it a fight. No one called it a win or loss. It was something different, a test of how power, privacy, and truth meet in one room under the eyes of the nation. And when it was all done, there was no applause, no shouting, no grand speeches. Just a quiet pause as America thought about where to draw the line and how far that line should reach.